Hey yogis, Josie here. This is the YogaLocal podcast. Today we're going to talk about what is purification in yoga. So what I want to begin with is maybe a little bit of a reframe. I think we have to have this conversation about what is yoga. It's become very confused in the West particularly, and specifically it's what I speak to. Yoga has become synonymous with posture, but yoga is not posture or asana practice, and asana alone is not yoga. In fact, yoga is the culmination of all our practices that take us towards this more meaningful experience of meditation and the opportunity then to remember ourselves, right, as whole, as connected, as divinity, or as the word suggests, union. Yoga is a Sanskrit word which means to yoke, to unify, to bring into union, and that is what essentially the practice and the tradition is there to help us work towards a sense of union, freedom, connectivity, knowing our own true power, knowing our own true self. Because at the end of the day, our experiences of life have started to accumulate and cloud our perception and our judgment of who we are. We have always been connected to our sense of self, our source energy, our universality, so to speak. But the tradition teaches that we've become disconnected from that, right? As we enter the world and as we start to accumulate other people's opinions, conditioning, belief systems, as we have experiences which create aversions and attachments, these all start to cloud our perception of who we are. And as a result, our sense of self and our sense of freedom and our sense of truth. So this, for me, is where this whole purification conversation starts to enter our practice, because the tradition is reminding us that we have a lot of work to do, a lot of purifying to do, to unlock our innate potential and reveal the truth that lies within. There's, it's a bit of cleaning house to be done, and that's what potentially our practices are there to do. So when I'm talking about practices, I'm not just talking about a beautifully created and energetic vinyasa flow. I mean, physically that's going to work the body, but just because their postures have been taken from the Hatha yoga tradition does not mean that you are practicing yoga. You're practicing postures. The practice of yoga has so many tools, practices, teachings, breath work, energy locks, mantra, mudra, all techniques and things that combine with our asana practice, but have been studied and systemized and practiced and tried and tested over thousands and thousands of years by the sages, the adepts, passed on from teacher to teacher. And if we're lucky and we found a teacher that has done the work, they get passed to us. So yoga is a science that unfolds strategically, but unfortunately, as I've described many times in the past, and I shall continue to try and redress some of the balance, but unfortunately yoga has become fractured. It's become separate, a bit like us, really. It's kind of ironic that the practice itself has become so distorted, so fragmented, so clouded, so confused, that it doesn't really resemble anything that the yogis, meant for us to be taught, and it's become hijacked, in my opinion, by the fitness industry, repackaged and resold into something that is more palatable, that can sell a little bit more readily. And because we're already bought into the fitness industry and the health industry and the exercise industry and even the well-being industry to a certain extent. So, we've got more of a captive audience there. But unfortunately, that just sells the tradition really, really short. We're just taking out, extracting things and not treating it as a whole practice, a cumulative practice that's leading us into deeper states of meditation and getting to know who we are on a much deeper level, all levels of our being, our energy body, our emotional layers, as well as our physical layers. It's all part of something that's complete. And unfortunately, if we just extract what we want from it in singular, we're going to lose its potency. So that's not what we do here, right? That's not what we're practicing here. That's not what I'm here to teach you. It's just so much more than fitness and postures. And in fact, it's a 7-stage progressive science, okay? And this is known as the 7 stages of Hatha Yoga. And within the Hatha Yoga progression, what is actually going on is we're working to balance out our energies so that we can prepare the landscape for a more deeper connection to our sense of self. So it's kind of like this purification process throughout a whole 7-stage process that is moving us more and more into the potential for evolution and growth, and into our own, and understanding our own innate potential, our own innate power, the power of our mind once it's been cleansed of all its acquired content, all the obstacles of the mind, all the doubts, all the fears, all the worries, all the illusions, all our misconceptions. Once we've purified the mind, it becomes such an auspicious tool for us to then redirect our energies in a way that's going to help us live our lives much more capably, if that's a word, in a much more capable way, and really start to live fully and in pursuit of purpose and fulfillment, rather than chasing egoic needs, wants and desires. So we have this 7-stage progression. The Ha is the moon, the Ha and the Tha are the two energies of solar and lunar. So the Ha is the solar energy, the Tha is the lunar energy, sun and moon. And then these two come together, there's a strike, and it's actually meant to be pronounced Hatha. So a striking together of these two forces, these two opposing forces, which come together and create the capacity for the awakening of our innate potential, which is also known as Kundalini, fire practice. So we're progressing from moon, sun to fire. Moon has 2 phases, sun has 2 phases, and Kundalini has 1 phase. So that's 5 stages. So where do those other 2 stages come in? Well, according to Patanjali, the author of the Yoga Sutra, they come way before we're even introduced to the stages of moon, the 2 stages of moon, which is calming and stabilizing. So stage 1 and stage 2 of the Hatha Yoga journey are actually purification and strengthening. And this is where this beautiful practice that I first discovered, really coincidentally, it was the first thing that I was drawn to on my journey, was this umbrella science of Ayurveda, which embraces the whole yoga tradition. It overlaps the whole tradition, and it also is something that we feed through all the 7 stages of practice. There is always a need to purify, there is always a need to strengthen, and we take these teachings with us. We create the foundation before we even step on the moon, sun, fire path. And yeah, because our goal wherever we are in Moon Sun Fire is to purify, is to fortify. And what are we purifying and fortifying? Well, our system, our energetic system, our human technology, right? We have to kind of create the right landscape, the right environment for our innate potential to reveal itself. Like, it's already there. I remember what I said at the beginning. You know, we're always connected to our source, our innate power, our innate sense of self, but we have become disconnected from it as a result of our human experience and through accumulated beliefs and, you know, just life itself, right? Life itself starts to cloud our judgment and cloud our connection, right? And remove us from that that free, joyful sense of who we are. So this is what we are continuously working with. You know, there's no yoga without some level of purification. And there's many ways and many teachings and techniques that help with that purification process. And, you know, we're talking about purifying the mind, purifying the body, physically, mentally, emotionally, becoming less triggered, less reactive, more steady, more capable. And that's where the stillness and silence steps in, because we really need to be able to hold ourselves in a moment of awareness to be able to shift our choice making from taking a choice which is more habitual, more conditioned, to making a choice that's more aligned from our sense of self, like what our inner wisdom. So it's ongoing. Purification is part of yoga practice, whatever stage you're working in, whether you're in a moon-based practice, steadying and calming, whether you're in a sun practice, which is more the dawning of our higher perception and expansion, or whether we're moving into the fire, that illumination and preparing ourselves for union, for yoga, right? For meeting ourselves, where our individual sense of self meets our more universal sense of self. So yeah, I mean, then there's lots of concepts in there that are difficult to grasp and difficult to communicate. And I think this is, you know, why, you know, it is easier just to go to a class, knock out a few poses, feeling a little bit better, right? Yeah, you've kind of had some physical purification there, but it's really, it's just really the start, right? Any kind of exercise is great and would be considered part of this first two stages to prepare us for the Moon Sun Fire. So yeah, go ahead and do exercise and fitness, but it's not yoga, whether or not you're using a posture or not. It's not yoga unless you are using the full, complete scope of practice, which will include pranayama, breath work, which will include energy management through breath and mudra, and also which will get us into more subtle senses and more subtle experiences, such as vibration and mantra, and moving into that more universal field through the medium of vibration and sound. So it's an amazing science, yeah, and it's all been systematically, scientifically put together in a very specific way to make it work. And if we're not following that system, if we're not following those practices, if we're starting to innovate and, you know, disconnect from that, fragment that, then unfortunately we're not going to be moving towards that goal of yoga, and we can't really consider ourselves yoga practitioners, to be fair. So the how. Okay, so how do we purify? So here the focus is on health and efficiency of our systems. We need a healthy system in order to create healthy habits and achieve the best results of practice. So we are looking in Ayurveda, it's a lifestyle practice. We're looking at how we live our life, how we sleep, how we eat, our relationships, our interactions in work and in life, and how these all create a balanced, healthy system. And the purification part of practice is starting to create better, healthier habits, look at our diet, look at our lifestyle, and start to make those changes that are going to give us that opportunity to work towards our highest potential. Okay, so we detox the body through those lifestyle changes, through certain purification techniques, you know, the neti potting, the Abbey massage, by eating a more seasonal diet, all those things that we'll also teach here. Start that process of purification. And then physically, the practice uses asana, right? Postures, to strengthen the body, to strengthen the core, but ultimately to stabilize the spine and support the spine, which is that energetic channel which houses our fire, our kundalini, our innate potential for growth. Don't get thrown by these words, kundalini, and I'm not going to apologize for using them either, because, you know, it's important to get familiar. The more that we use the language, the less they have that, you know, that feeling of, oh, what's she saying? So kundalini is basically our innate potential. It's our untapped innate potential, and kundalini is the Sanskrit word which describes that, and also carries the essence of that. And we need that, right? We need that fire for the growth, for our spiritual growth, for our evolution. So, and then with this purification, fortification, more stable body, more strong body, more healthy systems, we can step on that hatha yoga path via the moon into the sun, and then into our fire. And the practices have all been designed specifically to move us forward. So it's not getting all thrown at you in one session. Oh, let's throw a bandha in here, let's throw a breath pattern in here just because it looks, you know, interesting or it's creative. No, we stick with the practices that have been tested over time. We stick with the practice that have been passed on orally over the thousands of years. You know, these yogas have kind of like gifted us these practices. And, you know, it feels to me a disservice if we're not honouring those practices and working with them in the systematic and scientific way that they were meant to be taught. And ultimately, that's going to be our most efficient pathway to liberation, to union, to freedom, which is the real promise of yoga. So I hope that gives you a better idea of what is meant when, you know, the word purify gets thrown around in a yoga practice. And if you want to build on that knowledge, if you want to build on that idea, if this speaks to you in any way as, oh my God, like I had no idea, why didn't somebody tell me this sooner? I completely understand. I was that person one time too. I had this kind of knowing that there was something more, that maybe I was missing something, and I was. And you know, not everyone's going to go out there and have the tenacity and the wherewithal all the time to really to go deep and learn these teachings in the way they're meant to be taught. And so, you know, choose your source wisely, choose your teacher wisely. And if you want to have more of these conversations, if you want to start adding to them, I want you to, to get in touch, to feedback in the comments. This is a conversation that I want to open up. I feel it's part of my dharmic path, my purpose, what will give me real sense of meaning in my life, to really teach these teachings as they were meant to be taught, and get that message out there that yoga is not asana, and asana certainly isn't yoga. So if this gels with you, if you're vibing with this, if you're thinking, yes, this is the conversations that I want to be having, subscribe to our podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We also have an app where we have a whole community of people, which is growing and growing and growing, like-minded individuals who want more meaningful practices. They don't just want another gym class where they're working out. And yeah, come and join us there. There's it's free currently to join, and there is so much value in there, so much content, and people who want to have these conversations too, which is even more exciting. Okay, so that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next podcast. Bye for now.